A street flood advisory was just issued for much of the metro area, and we will get to that in just a second. But I want to take a look at the tropics. Again, we will have no new tracks for Fred. They've kind of, from the Hurricane Center, passed off the forecasting to the Weather Prediction Center, and so they will handle, which is now more of just a rain forecast. Grace strengthening and will likely be, based on early forecast, a hurricane as it moves toward the Yucatan. And Henri, at the moment, looks like it'll stay out over open waters, but certainly folks along the East Coast keep seeing this kind of inching closer and closer. And we'll talk more about that coming up in just a second. But the latest on Grace, and again, I don't mind talking about tropical systems when they're not threatening us at all, but you feel for the folks that are being affected by a big rainmaker right now, and again, a strengthening system. Winds are now at 50 miles an hour as very heavy rain is now sitting over Jamaica and will continue toward the Caymans. Finally to see some relief, beginning to see some relief from the at least heavier rain around Haiti. Now the forecast, again, basically moving due west. Forecast to become a hurricane right through landfall in the Yucatan and then regaining hurricane status as it again affects or will be influenced by land over the Yucatan, and then likely as a hurricane as it moves maybe around the Tampico or central Mexico coast. Now at the moment, models are in very good agreement. There's always a little bit of a spread toward the latter part of the forecast, which is why the cone kind of expands in that 3, 4, and 5-day part of the forecast. But the reason we're likely to see this become a hurricane before landfall, one, environmental conditions are a little bit more favorable for further development, and two, it's getting ready to move over very deep, warm water, which should provide the energy needed for it to strengthen. Now that warm water, not quite as abundant in the Bay of Campeche, but certainly enough of a more hospitable environment for further development. Again, the reason this is not going to be coming north is that ridge of high pressure is building in, and that is going to keep Grace moving toward the west. We don't wish these on anyone, but we don't want to see them come here. Now, as that high settles over us, we are looking at a big warm-up as we approach the weekend and early part of next week. Models also picking up on this is kind of a mid-level tropical wave that if it moves into the Gulf right now would be kind of a rainmaker. At the moment, it does not look like it would become anything tropical. And the very latest on Henri, also strengthening with winds of 65 miles an hour. At the moment, it's kind of under that ridge, so we're not going to see a whole lot of motion, but generally a westerly direction before it gets picked up by an upper trough. The question is, how far west does it go before it gets picked up? It is still possible it could get fairly close to the east coast of the U.S. Something that's of note is over the next 7 to 8 days, we're going to see a new plume of Saharan dust coming off of the African continent right across the main development region of the Atlantic. Once we are done with Grace and Henri, we may not see much more development, at least for about a week beyond. So it does look like once those two storms are gone, things may settle for a little while. But remember, we're not even to the peak of the season yet. A lot of rain over downtown, 87 degrees at the moment, with a dew point making it feel more like 96. Our high today, though, was 96 degrees outside, and temperatures are in the 80s where we've had that rain-cooled air with dew points in the 70s. A lot of sunshine during the day today. That provided that heat, and with plenty of moisture, the showers and thunderstorms started bubbling up. We do have a street flood advisory, including parts of Lakeview to City Park, mid-city, so just be aware as you're headed home for work, may have some high water on some of the streets there. We've also had a bit of a downpour kind of north of Franklinton, although it does look like that is beginning to weaken. Most of our rainfall wrapping up over the next couple of hours with more scattered showers and thunderstorms as we head into the day tomorrow and then Thursday. Then that ridge builds in and we start heating up but drying out. But again, a ridge, not a bad thing. We are looking at maybe some potentially dangerous heat, but it keeps anything in the tropics away from us.